Do you know how to determine what's real damages versus what's normal wear and tear in your rental property? In today's video, I'm going to share with you some of the basics so that you can understand the differences between regular wear and tear and damages, and then for you as a landlord, how do you use that information to deduct certain things from your tenant's security deposit? If you want great landlord tips and good information to help you run a successful rental property business, then I hope you'll subscribe to our channel. And if you hit the bell, you'll be notified every Wednesday when we post a new video. Okay, so there's really a fine line between what's actual damages and what's wear and tear. And this causes a lot of arguments between landlords and tenants. And even for us as a property manager, we're the middleman, but we have a really good process to determine what's what. And we do this every day, but it still can cause conflict. But if you know what you're doing, you can do the right things to minimize the amount of conflict you'll have at the end, and hopefully you really won't have any with your tenant. So I've got a list for you today and some guidelines that you can follow so that you can properly assess what's wear and tear and what's actual damages that you can charge for. My name is Richey. I am a real estate broker, and I'm the co-owner of Richey Property Management. We're a property management firm managing over 300 individually owned properties in the Washington, D.C. suburbs. We do this every day. We've built a really good process for tenant security reimbursements and our move-in and move-out inspections. But like I said, it still causes conflicts because tenants want to get all their money back, and owners, while they want to give the money back, they want to keep what they think they deserve so that they can fix what they think the tenant damaged. But there's only so much that they can keep. So let's get into it. First of all, before we even get into the definitions of what wear and tear is versus damages, I want to reiterate the fact that you as a landlord should do a very, very thorough move-in inspection and a similar move-out inspection. So with your move-in inspection, before the tenant moves anything into the property, make sure that you do extensive photos or video. You can take pictures or video of all of the walls, the ceilings, all of the flooring, the tiles in the bathroom. Open all the doors and drawers. Check on underneath the sink to make sure things aren't leaking, before they move in. Check all the toilets. Just video yourself or have someone video you as you walk through, and really, really document the condition. And then do the same exact type of inspection when they move out. And if you document what you did in the beginning, you can do it the exact same way with the exact same rooms. And then when you compare later, you'll be able to see what changed from when they moved in to moved out. And then you will use some of the guidelines we'll talk about today to determine whether or not you can charge for that, for any of the damages or whatever, wear and tear. And that's the first thing you need to do, is to make sure that you do those inspections so you have proof if you ever need it later. Okay, so let's talk about wear and tear first. Wear and tear is something that you as a landlord, you have to expect this in a rental property. You have to expect to spend money between tenant turnover to fix or touch up little things. Normal wear and tear are things like, just regular wear on a carpet in the high traffic areas. It can be small holes in the walls from nail holes. It can be scuffs on the wall just from general use. It can be things like dirty grout or caulk that you need to replace or redo, cut out and redo. It can be loose knobs or fixtures or a wobbly toilet. Those are all just sort of minor things, and they happen. If you lived there, they would happen to you too. They're just things that you need to fix, tighten up, freshen up before you turn it over and start marketing the property again. So those are what we call normal items, things you can't charge for and things you want to keep up and keep maintained every time you turn over the property. Okay, so let's talk about actual damage. Actual damage are things like you have a big hole in the wall because a tenant got mad and punched a hole in the wall. We've seen that happen. It can be things like crayons or markers written all over the wall. We've seen that happen. We had one tenant who was very, very nice. He let his child write with marker and crayon all over the walls, all over the place. And no matter if we told him to not do that, it still happened. And we told him he'd have to pay for all of the painting at the end, everywhere that there was marker. And he was fine with it because he had enough money. He didn't really care, but that's unusual. But that does happen. So obviously things like that are not normal and would definitely be considered damages. Also, a situation with, let's just say, like an HVAC unit. In our lease, we remind tenants to change the furnace filters on a regular basis. If they don't do this, first of all, they're in breach of their lease. But second of all, it can cause damage to the HVAC unit because it can clog up the system, it doesn't operate efficiently, and things will break. And if that happens and there are repairs as a result of negligence on the tenant's part, they can have to pay for that. That would be considered something that would be damages. Other things that would be damages are things like you have cracked tiles, say in a kitchen or a bathroom, you have broken faucets or fixtures, really big gouges or scratches in the other kinds of hardwood flooring, pet damage is another thing, pee on a carpet where you have to replace all the carpet, that's a damage. Things like that. Those are just more excessive than just generally living in the house. It's things that you just are going to also cost you more money. So what can you do when you have actual damage? In another video that we'll talk more about actual security deposit deductions and how you handle those and what you can actually take out. But I'll give you just a quick example. So let's say you have a room that probably needs some paint, but one of the walls, say, has a big hole in it because the tenant did something. Well, you can't really charge them maybe for the whole room because you would have probably had to paint it anyway. But if one of the walls has something that is beyond normal wear and tear, you can charge them a portion of that painting to repair that specific wall. So let's say the room cost $800 to paint and one wall was significant damage, you could charge them $200 in that example, roughly. Again, these are all guidelines. These are not set in stone, but what we want to do is do something that's reasonable. You want to have something that if you had to go to court, it would be a reasonable charge to a tenant and you would be able to keep that money. Okay, so in addition to wear and tear and damages, you need to also be able to understand the lifespan of certain things in your home. Everything doesn't last forever. Appliances don't last forever. Carpet, paint, they don't last forever, even though you hopefully don't want to spend the money to replace them every time a tenant turns over. But I'll give you an example. For carpet, generally about 5 years is a reasonable amount, maybe 7 years. Paint, 3 to 5 years. Some tenants can keep it great. Others will have a lot of wear and tear where you're going to have to do a lot more painting. I mean, you have to do it more frequently between turnover. Appliances generally will last about 10 years. Obviously, some last much longer, but there's a point at which once it's getting to the end of its life cycle, you can't really charge a tenant as much money if they damage something. So for example, with carpet, let's say you just replaced the carpet and it's 1 year old and a tenant actually does significant damage to it. If it's a year old, you'll be able to charge them much more than if they did more damage at, say, year 5, because it's nearing the end of its life cycle. You won't be able to charge them as much because you would have had to replace it sooner anyway. So hopefully that makes sense. So there's a link below to a list with life expectancy for certain things in your home. Again, like paint, carpet, appliances, and so on. Something that you can refer to just to see what and how long things last. I've also included a link below to some guidelines on what's wear and tear and what's damages. So it may not include everything. It probably doesn't include everything, but it'll give you some guidance that you can refer to when you're in question. So bottom line, no landlord likes to spend money. I'm a landlord too. I don't like to spend money every time the tenant turns over. I don't want to paint the place, but I know that if I do and I touch it up or do what we need to do, I freshen up the outside, I do all those things, I know I will get a better tenant next time around and I'll be able to get it rented faster. So when you have turnover, that's obviously your biggest time that you as a landlord have to spend money. You've got to spend money to find a new tenant and you have to spend money to, like I said, to freshen it up or touch up or repaint it if you have to. But again, we're talking more now in terms of wear and tear and damages, but that's when you start to assess them. So I'm going back to the beginning and just making sure that you do a really, really good inspection. Compare it to the move-out inspection. It will save you a lot of headache. And just recognizing what's normal wear and tear versus damages will also help you save you from a lot of conflict and wasted time when you may or may not have gotten the money anyway. Also, in our leases, we have put in a clause, or many clauses, to say that The tenants have to professionally clean the home. They have to professionally clean carpets, the fireplaces, if they exist. They have to clean gutters. And so we have those in place. They have to provide receipts, and that is money that has saved, I mean, that's money the tenant has to spend when they turn it back over. And so that saves our owners some of the money too. So if you don't have clauses like that in your lease, think about putting things like that in there so that when at least those things are done when it's turned over to you, and then you can just spend it on the other things that the tenant didn't take care of. So hopefully this has helped a little bit and given you a little better understanding of what the differences are and what you should do to prepare yourself and set yourself up so you don't have problems down the road. If you liked this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up and share it with someone else who could benefit from this information. There's other landlords out there, you have friends, share it. We'd love for more and more people to benefit from the information we put out on this channel. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.